Hey there, welcome to Cosmic Confessions, a podcast by your spiritual besties.
I'm Alex.
I'm Avery.
And I'm Melissa.
Coming at you unhinged,
unfiltered,
and unedited.
Join us on this journey as we explore the profound,
the practical,
and the unlimited potential within us.
Let's awaken our spirits, ignite our passions, and elevate our lives together as the universe speaks and we listen.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our next episode of the Cosmic Confessions podcast. Do you like our new sign? Oh, yeah. Do you like our new logo banner? Isn't it so beautiful? Thank you, Avery, for ordering it.
Oh, yeah, no worries.
We're really excited about this episode, but before Avery even says the confession, this is a podcast episode not intended for young audiences or young ears. So if you have your little ones around, please be sure to pause the podcast episode now, because the language that we're going to be using in this episode may be at times explicit in nature. So please be sure to pause this. Okay.
And so we continue. But we're really excited to jump on in. So Avery, what is our confession?
All right. So our confession today is that we don't look at sex or treat sex the same way that maybe everyone else does. Meaning like us three, like we're not your booty calls. We're not the booty call. We're not the one you're calling after 10 p.m., sneaking in, sneaking out. That's just not what sex means to us. So we're going to dive in on sex and intimacy and all that stuff.
We're going to dive on in. Buckle up, buttercup.
Let's go into question number one.
We're going right in. We're not sugarcoating anything in this episode.
No. And this is all our perspective and opinions on how we see sex for ourselves. So nothing here is in any form of judgment or any type of
good point.
Assumptions, right? Of whatever it is that you enjoy doing and you like to do, that is completely up to you. We don't shame that. We don't disagree with it. This is just how we see sex in our eyes and how we interpret the experience for ourselves.
And I'm really excited because I feel like this episode is going to just give a different perspective than maybe what people currently think about that dynamic in a relationship, and take what resonates and leave what doesn't. So Alex, what's question?
Beautiful.
Number one, girl.
Okay.
Let's bring it on in.
How do we reclaim our sexual power in a world that often treats sex as transactional rather than sacred?
Oof. Who wants to start with that one?
I will.
Okay. Go for it. Go for it.
Okay, so let's talk about sexual power, right? So we have autonomy over our bodies, and we know how our bodies feel. And I know for me, there's been times where I've had sex and just don't feel good after, right? And I think that comes from, if I look back at that time, like just low self-worth. Being in a relationship for 15 years with the same person, you're kind of just like, do I even know what I want? Right. So you start to have these experiences, and I say intimate experiences because it's just like you and another person, but like intimate should really be like more conscious, and it like kind of wasn't for me. But the temptation was there because it's like, specifically for me, it's just something I wasn't doing in my marriage, honestly. So then like you get caught up in like this like dating life and single life, and it's like it's really hard out there, like so like to reclaim that back, I had to like go inward and like really be aware of like my self-worth. What do I want in this, like, and what it came down to was like, I can't just have sex with people. I can't, like, I need to have, I need to be like more committed to that person. There needs to be conversation. Like, I'm not going to lie. Recently someone was like, do you want to come over and like just have sex? And I was like, when's the last time you made out with someone, touched someone, had sex with someone? Oh, yesterday I had someone over. Why do you think I would want to go there next? And like, so rude of like how you kind of like perceive me as a person. And secondly, like there's like an energy exchange. So like I feel like I would just like also feel that last person's right.
Yeah, residue.
Yeah.
Energetic
And that's
residue.
So, but I hopefully we talk about this in this episode too, that like I think just like men and women view it differently, or maybe just like, well, like we said, like we just view it differently. So like no, like I can't be a booty call. Like my self-worth is that it's not a booty call, and you like let go and free yourself from like temptation.
Right. I love it. And for me, like what helped me reclaim my power is understanding that it was never, I really believe this. This is just my opinion. I don't believe sex was intended and created to be transactional. I really believe like the origins of it was, of course, for co-creation purposes, but to be sacred and intimate, and one of the most powerful ways to connect with another soul and another human being. Yeah. So what helped me reclaim it was kind of backtrack, like really looking back at, okay, where did I adopt this idea that it's transactional, or it could be performative, right, in nature. And for me, you know, I grew up a holiday Catholic, but then for a very long time, I practiced non-denominational Christianity. So like during that time, it really was ingrained in me, like, listen, really the only reason you should be having sex is to be making babies. Like it is not, or if you were to have sex not to make babies, it was just for like the pleasure of your husband that you were submissive to. Like it was this very conservative ideology. So for a very long time I adopted like that idea. Like I had a purity ring. I mean, I really went down the rabbit hole with like being a born again Christian at one point in my life. And then when I actually did get married, I noticed that like, oh my God, there's so much shame here, but I have nothing to be ashamed about. But I remember going through that and trying to break through that was really hard, because it's like, oh wait, God actually, I believe, intended this to be pleasurable and enjoyable. And yes, of course you can make babies that way too. But that really helped me reclaim my power, is realizing, you know, like it's not just for co-creation, it's for connection with someone. It's remembering that, you know, being intimate with someone in that way is one of the most profound things you could do with somebody. And so I remember like trying to debunk that shame curtain that was like over it, like really helped me reclaim my power. And then, you know, when I got divorced and then being single again, and then figuring out, oh my gosh, like what are my boundaries around that, you know, and now entering into a new relationship, like I really believe that it could be so sacred and so beautiful and so intentional and not transactional. So for me, long answer, like unweaving what the negative connotation was. And it was very much religious dogma that I had to work through.
Yeah.
Powerful.
Yeah. Like it felt like I can relate a little bit, where it feels either like taboo or careless. It's like, where's that like medium? The dance.
Yeah. And it's interesting for me because I feel like I grew up with sex meaning that it was so about connection, and it's only about doing it with the person you love and care about, and it's meant to be somebody who earns it and like almost kind of worships your body and really appreciates and genuinely feels connected to you. So I think that having that belief, sex was such a big deal. It still is such a big deal to me. But I feel like there were times where then, because of that belief that I do think to some degree is beautiful, and there is like, you know, a powerful strength in that, but also there's the negative side of that where I then stayed with people so much longer because of that, right? Like now that belief's there, I'm like, oh, well, I can't leave them because now I gave them my body and now we are connected and now I'm having sex with them and they've now been able to experience me, so I can't end this. And then it's almost a sense of feeling trapped. So I think for me, it's about reclaiming your power by shifting the narrative in regards to what the belief is around sex and having it become something that is healthy, where you do feel empowered, where there's self-trust, right? And there's the experience of saying, okay, I'm doing this because I do feel connected and it feels good, but this is my choice. And at any point that choice can change. And I could say, this is no longer what I want.
Right.
Because I'm not feeling fulfilled in other areas and sex doesn't have to keep me trapped.
I love that. And also,
Thank you.
also one last thing before we go to the next question is I noticed what helped me reclaim my power was shifting from like sex being this self-sacrifice thing, like almost like a bargaining chip. Like I have to give my power away and do that so I feel safe.
Yes.
You know, instead shifting to it being, no, this is a way for me to express myself. This is a way, so from like self-sacrifice to self-expression. Like, no, this could be a way for me expressing myself, not giving my power away, but co-creating with somebody else. You know what I'm saying?
Like, so it's kind of like a hell yeah throughout your entire body.
Yeah.
Mind, body, and soul.
Yeah, not like a bargaining chip.
Yeah.
So we feel worthy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah,
Yeah, or I've been in that relationship where it's like, well, I do X, Y, and Z, so like
the tit for tat.
Yes.
so you have to do this, or like, like I'm not going to emotionally connect to you because you're not physically connecting to me.
Yuck.
It's like, but what men have to understand.
Yeah.
Okay, this could be my opinion. I think we need to be emotionally connected first to like physically open like a beautiful lotus flower. Like you need to be so kind and gentle emotionally, mentally, and physically before just like sex.
And creating safety in that.
Safety, right? And then like it's beautiful, and like we want to, like you said, worship or like do things in a way that's like very intentional and ceremonial almost. But anything before that just feels
empty,
performative,
yucky.
Superficial.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay, so that kind of leads into my question. You want me to?
Yeah.
All right.
Dive on in, girl.
Dive in. How does being spiritually conscious change the way we approach sex? And what shifts when we treat it as energetic exchange rather than just a physical act?
Oof, that's a good one. You want to go, Alex?
Sure. I think for me, it's about becoming really present and intentional with
Totally.
the experience, right? So being able to kind of create a level of vulnerability that I think most people don't necessarily understand,
Right.
because we're in a society that does really truly disconnect us, right? It's like we've now interpreted sex, for a lot of us, we've interpreted sex as just kind of this like experience because we're horny or we're attracted and there's lust and desire. So it's like, I need to have this. And then it's like, okay, and then I'm over it. And then on to the next. So I feel like there is this need to become very intentional and co-creative in that experience so it can become delicious and pleasurable with like depth and connection in a whole new way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree. And I think when you really deepen into your spirituality, I really think it shifts from like sex shifts from being something that you do to being something that you actually experience, right? And I think you brought up a really good point, just the presence. I really think that changes the way that a lot of spiritual people approach sex. Like it begs everything of you to be fully present in that moment so you could enjoy every single thing that's happening. Yeah. So I think there's definitely a shift from something you do to something you experience. But then also when you become spiritually aware, you really start to recognize, oh, this isn't me just like bumping into somebody. There is a serious energetic exchange going on. Like I'm telling you, there have been plenty of people that I've known in my life that like, not you girls, thankfully, but like other people where they had sex with somebody and their life like fell apart. And it's like, oh honey, you like took on their demons. Like, it's a thing. It's a real thing. So I think also acknowledging that there definitely is an energetic transaction that goes on when you're that intimate with somebody.
And just one more thing before you go too, going off of that, I think that also it's like sex can be so healing, right? Where you can be in that space of breaking open old wounds and new wounds and releasing shame and healing the trauma. But it can also, when you're intentional, right? And you are present and you are deeply connected and there is soul alignment, but then it can do the complete opposite with someone that it doesn't mean anything to and there is no connection, where it's creating wounds. it's creating shame, it's disconnecting from self, and actually adding so much more pain around the idea of sex and what that means and how it sits in the body.
Yeah, and I think because when you're intimate with somebody, it's such a level of vulnerability. Whenever you get into the energetic space of vulnerability, I mean, you nailed it. It could be either the greatest catalyst for healing and change or the complete antithesis and like opposite of that. So I totally agree.
Yeah.
Come on.
No. Same thing. Like a lot of like the energetic hygiene, right? Like you're taking on that person's energy, their feelings, their traumas, all that stuff. But also like for me to be spiritually conscious rather than a physical act, like I have to have that conversation with my partner. Like I need them to also know like, no, I'm not going upstairs for a quickie. No, I don't want to do this when you're drunk or high or all that stuff. Like, you know, once in a while, sure, we all have fun and we explore in that way. But like, you know, for me, it's like I think men are on the same conscious level as maybe us three sitting here right now? Not necessarily, but I want to invite them to that and have that conversation and be like, hey, like, I'm not just gonna, like, right off the bat, what are you looking for? A relationship? Or are you looking just to, like, have like, a physical, like, sex partner type of thing? Because it's, like, that's not gonna work for me, and this is why. These are my intentions. Like, when you have sex with someone, it's more than just, like, getting off in the moment. Like, there's so much, like, built around that with trust and safety, and, like, if there's nothing leading up to that, like, it's not even gonna be good.
Yeah.
And it's not even, like, gonna be fun.
No, it's gonna feel empty.
Yeah. And if you're going to, and this is also like, I'm glad you brought that up because it's also not to like shame people. Like, listen, if you want to go have fun, please do so responsibly. Yeah. But if you're going to do that consciously, right? Yeah. So both of you, like you and another person, let's say you guys do just want it to be just on the dimension of fun and that's it. That's okay. But at least you're in your agency and you're choosing to engage in that. Yeah. If you have a need that's deeper than that and communicating that, you have to meet someone that's going to be aligned and is going to meet that need for you.
But do you think it's always harder for women to just be like a friends with benefit or like a booty call thing? Do you think we are always going to be prone to like catching feelings or getting hurt?
I think most women are just way more emotional. So like we feel things deeper. And I think there are a lot of women who can numb or use alcohol or drugs as a way to disconnect, to have meaningless sex. But I think on a deeper level, like underneath the void of that and underneath the numbing, it is a very empty experience. And I honestly think it's an empty experience for men. But I think, and we'll get into this in another episode, but I think that they're so conditioned and trained for sex to be meaningless because of things that they've watched
outside,
that have kind of shifted their mindset to what sex is meant to mean.
Yeah, and I think we're also comes down to the wiring too. I think as women, it's like an evolutionary thing too. Sure. Like where like certain hormones that are triggered for us to be the connecting love hormone, right?
Oxytocin.
Oxytocin. Whereas with men, it's vasopressin. And when that gets triggered, it's at very different stages in a dynamic and being intimate with somebody. So I think it is easier for women to get emotionally invested and tied to somebody if they've been intimate with somebody. And I think it's just like a hard wiring thing that happens with us. It's like when the oxytocin hits is usually during those moments.
And not to say that men can't also feel emotionally connected and attached, but it is, I feel like, more likely that the women
it's easier
do
for us, usually.
Kind of.
Yeah, and like I just don't want women out there to feel like there's something wrong with them.
Absolutely
you're hardwired for that. It's a hormonal thing.
But I think there is ways to kind of shift the hardwiring.
There
in
could
terms
be.
of just becoming more. This almost goes back to our other episodes around non-negotiables. And having non-negotiables when it comes to sex.
Sure.
And becoming really connected.
Be conscious and intentional. And you have to have like agency. Like if you're choosing to do whatever, just do it from a place of sovereignty and not shame or
and guilt
or all the other
or
shit.
feeling like it is a bargaining chip where we're using this good. Like we're using sex to please connect to me, please see me, please validate me, please love me.
Can't do that.
Right? It's like the very like needy energy.
Yeah.
And that's never going to serve anyone
Yeah.
powerfully.
No good.
That's
Yeah.
going to disempower
Yeah.
anyone. So,
Totally.
yeah.
Awesome.
Totally.
Melissa, what's your question?
Oh yeah, what's my question? Good question. Okay,
Good question. What's
Number
the
3 and the final one. For someone new to spiritual or conscious sex, what's one small shift they can make to connect deeper with themselves or their partner?
You want me to take this one first?
Mine's pretty short.
Go ahead.
I would just say like,
What would you tell a newbie?
oh man. So having that conversation early on with that person, right? So like, what are we? Like, you know, what are we in this relationship? What type of relationship is this? What is it? You know, what is, I don't like labels, but like just a conversation. And then to connect to a deeper level, like I think like for me, like ambiance and aesthetics, right? So like,
Yes.
yeah.
Who doesn't love a little red light room?
right? Like, get that red light going. You know, music. Sometimes music helps, sometimes it doesn't. Like having
candles.
some candles, and like I like for me, there's got to be like daytime foreplay, even if it's through text message. Like, heard this song, like, you know,
The emotional
Thinking of what I wanna
intimacy.
do.
yeah, thinking what I want to do with you. Like, you know, talk about your kinks and the praises you like. Like, all this stuff is like normal and should be spoken about. Like, I was with someone for a very long time and this just wasn't part of the relationship. And it like was very hard and weird to even try to make a baby. Like, you know, like it's,
Yeah.
yeah, you know, so
For
it's
sure.
like, took a very long time to conceive my children. And like, I feel like I learned more about myself and my sexual needs and desires, like being like divorced.
Yeah, like
you
after
know?
the fact.
After the fact.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff like I said, was either taboo or careless.
Or shameful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm all about aesthetics and ambiance.
Heck yeah.
Love it.
Get
For
some red
me-
lights. Put on a Spotify playlist.
We may share
Your
our
thing,
playlist.
Maybe dress up a little sexy.
Yes. Make it a thing.
Make it a thing.
Hell
Make it
yeah.
an experience.
Right?
Fuck yeah.
For me, I would say it's like slowing the hell down.
Yeah.
Like I feel like, and the hell should be in the F word, but we're gonna keep it PG here. And I think honestly, it really is about becoming again intentional in the moment. So rather than rushing just to finish or being able to just rip each other's clothes off and wham bam, thank you ma'am, and then being done with it, it's like slow down, become really intentional, pause, breathe into the moment, feel each other's bodies, like breathe in together, make eye contact, become super present. And like for me, it's really about being able to feel every inch, every part. you
Yeah.
know? It's just like I
Your full
need-
presence.
I need the full body experience.
Yep.
And I feel like that's what kind of elevates the levels to like the explosion.
Totally. Totally. Yeah, those are really great tips for newbies. And I would say, yeah, one of mine is just slow down. Just slow the hell down.
Yeah.
Slow the hell
You could
down.
tell when someone's like in their head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're thinking too much.
And they're
it's
thinking
such a
too
performance.
much.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
100%.
Yes. Yeah, and like how Alex said, so you can really be present for whatever sensations are going on. So you can emotionally what's coming up. For me, I would say just be purposeful, like pleasure with purpose. So if
Yeah.
you're going to, and not that you have to have like a full blown conversation about it, but just before you get in, be intimate with somebody, how can you set an intention? Like, okay, even if you communicate this with your partner, that would be great. But, and then you can ask what their intention would be too. But just setting an intention in your mind, okay, like, what's my intention here? Like, do I just want to experience pleasure and just have fun? Do I really want to heal? Do I
Want to manifest?
I knew you guys were going to say that.
I just love some sex magic now. It's a whole other episode. But, I think pleasure with purpose. That's what I would say. Just the next time you're intimate with somebody or even solo, how can you do it with an intention and a purpose in mind? And also communicating that with your partner would be really cool, because then you guys could even set an intention together and
Yeah.
then you could That's for another episode. But that's what I would say, like pleasure with purpose, set an intention.
And I think even in that, right, it's like even communicating during, I feel like so many people are so nervous to say like, I like this or I don't like
Feedback.
that.
Please give feedback.
Yes, like, that's what makes things so much
Give some
more
encouragement.
passionate.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
Like, who doesn't love hearing, wow, you're doing a really good job. So great. You know, like, I mean, I love that. And again, I think this is why, you know, sex can be such a beautiful space because you're so vulnerable with somebody and they're giving you this positive feedback when you're being so open and vulnerable, and they're like encouraging you. Like, it could be so medicinal and healing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Come on.
It's a delicious and healing and beautiful space.
It is. Oh man.
Oh, boy.
Man. Well, Alex.
Yeah. Oh
Close
my
us out,
gosh.
girl. This is a lot.
Okay. All right. So we're going to continue talking more about sex because I feel like this just feels really good.
Yes.
So definitely tune in to the next episode. But thank you so much for sharing your time, your energy, your presence with us. We're really hoping you enjoy this juicy, juicy episode.
So
and
juicy.
We're curious. Like, tell us about your sexual experiences. Are you having sex from a place of consciousness and presence and intention and deliciousness, or are we kind of in the wham bam thank you ma'am state right now and we're looking for more, or are we in there and we're wondering why? Like, kind of reach out to us, let us know where you're at. We're here for you and we're here to dive deeper with you. So until next time.
Until next time.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.